The following program contains names, places, and events that have been anonymized or fictionalized for the purposes of protection and safety. The following program is provided for entertainment purposes only, and any commentary from the hosts are strictly conjecture and should not be held as making any definitive statements about the truth or identity of any particular individuals or circumstances. If you or a loved one are involved in an abusive relationship, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for support.
Happy Dating Detectives Monday.
Hi, everybody.
We have no grown-up today. Normally, Molly, our producer, is here and she's like monitoring everything and running the back office. And now it's just me and Hannah. And by me and Hannah, I mean Hannah.
No, you're doing great. Did we have an extra 5 minutes of troubleshooting? Yes, we did.
We don't know what's going on. It's fine. So there's no grown-ups in the room today. I may or may not be wearing pants. We're not sure.
You don't wear pants when we record with grown-ups in the room. Don't lie to them. It makes no difference.
Right. Anyway, so happy Dating Detectives Monday. We have a guest today. Yeah, it's a two-parter. And we have a guest today that I think that so many of us will relate to, but also I feel like it was so easy, even for me, to say, oh, what the heck? Why did she do that? And I think that might be something that we often think about what someone else does. But I just want you guys to remember that these are experiences that are not ours, and you never know what you would do in that situation. So my heart is just, anyways, I can't wait for you to meet her.
No, I want to add to what you're saying because that's so good.
Yes.
And hi, we love you guys. We're grateful.
Oh, also good morning.
Also, hello. I feel like the show is reaching a lot of new people, which is amazing.
Yes.
With that comes new feedback. And a lot of responses have been, I'll say it, victim blaming. And that's okay when it's done with the open-mindedness to have a conversation about it. Because I want this to be a place where you can say, my gut reaction is to say, well, why were they in that scenario anyway? When we really do want to encourage people to ask, well, why does that person scam them, hurt them, abuse them, etc.?
That's the right question.
Correct. Because no matter what mistakes you make or decisions you make, no one deserves that. So that's the focus. That being said, our job here that we've given ourselves is not to, we've decided we're not doing this podcast to say, well, this is all the stuff you did wrong. We're doing this podcast because it doesn't matter what they did right or wrong or whatever. But their story matters, and then we can learn from it. So if there's something that you hear that you're like, oh, I don't know if that's the decision that was the safe decision. Oh, now I have a reminder as I move forward. It's so gracious and brave of these guests to share things that they've reflected on. They've gone through the process of analyzing everything they did, and then they want to share that story. And Laura, our guest, not only you'll hear, tells us her story, but she has another podcast that you can dive into her story even more. She's awesome. And we should do some warnings. I mean, there's some financial abuse, emotional abuse, and revenge porn. And that hasn't really come up as much in the past. And it's an important thing because it's far too common.
It can be very, very triggering. And I think that as someone who has gone through something incredibly similar, it's bad. And you feel there's a lot of talk of there's suicidal ideation, there's talk of suicide, there's death threats. And so just a couple trigger warnings there that this story gets a little bit deep. So just want to warn you guys of that. But before we continue on with that, I do want to show my gratitude to you guys for listening and for supporting our show. We appreciate all the stories that you send in. We appreciate all of our guests that come on and tell us their stories so bravely and courageously. So if you have stories to send in, you can just email them to us, and we would love to, we get a lot of them. So
what's the email, Mackenzie? What's the email?
I know the email. The email address is investigate at the datingdetectivespodcast.com. And also, we have an amazing group of Patreoners who pay the $5 a month and get the bonus episodes and all of that. And that's a great community that those people have. Oh man, it's such a great group. So feel free to join our Patreon. We'll put it in the show notes.
Lastly, shout out to this guest, Laura, and Laura's cousin, who apparently listens to us a lot and introduced Laura to us. So special shout out to Laura's cousin.
Let's
do it.
I don't want to give away. Let's just get into it and let's let Laura tell her story.
It's wild. Oh, the end of part 1 is just going to make you guys want to flip a table. Okay, let's go.
Flip a table.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Laura, take us away. We're ready for it.
I'll start at the beginning. Okay, so my name is Laura, and I am from Canada. And my story takes place in January 2022, the very beginning of January. My birthday is 2 weeks after Christmas. So I've started this tradition to start traveling by myself somewhere hot because everybody's partied out by the time my birthday rolls around. So in January 2022, I decided to book an all-inclusive beach vacation. And all I had planned for that trip was just relaxation, avoiding people.
Yes, unpeopling.
Exactly. I'm single, or I was definitely single at the time, and I just wanted to go and have some fun. Like, PG fun.
And you travel alone each birthday?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yep. So I don't think it's a big deal. I live alone. I go through life alone. So I don't think it's that big of a stretch to go to an all-inclusive resort alone.
No way.
But it's amazing how many people are actually, they really can't understand how you would possibly do this alone.
Oh, I would kill for a solocation.
A solo trip is regenerative.
There's nobody counting your drinks. There's nobody to fight with.
Yes.
It's really great.
I would love to go by myself and just you can go wherever you want, stay as long as you want. I love it.
As long as you have Mackenzie's voice in the back of your head, keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, and don't die, please.
That part.
Don't die. Okay, so maybe after I share my story, we might all rethink going again alone. But anyway, so January 2022, I traveled to this all-inclusive resort. Like I said, all I want to do is just be by myself and have a good time. And I really nailed that the first day. The second day, I found myself in the swim-up bar, just having a good time. And I was talking to a bunch of different people. And my back was facing the bartender, and I was watching the pool. And out of the corner of my eye, I could feel somebody trying to get my attention. Okay. And I was kind of ignoring it, but it was, it's bigger and bigger. So I turn around and it's a resort worker trying to get my attention. I had set my big beach hat on the bar behind me and he was wearing it. So I pretended.
That's a flirt.
Okay, maybe you're nicer than me. I turned around pretending like I thought it was cute, but immediately I was just like, ugh, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I smiled and I, whatever. I was convinced that he wanted me to participate in some I don't know, guacamole making class or towel folding.
We're teaching pole dancing right now. Come join us.
And I just wasn't in the mood. So anyway, we have a little bit of small talk. Thankfully, it starts raining and thunder and lightning, so we have to get out of the pool. So I say goodbye to the guy, the resort worker, and I carry on. I get out of the pool.
Resort worker is who?
Resort worker, let's call him Ramon.
Okay.
Ramon. Okay.
Ramon.
Okay.
I like it.
So anyway, we say goodbye. And I head back to my room and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm at an all-inclusive resort alone. I'm going to find somewhere else to go have some drinks. So I go to another bar, an inside bar, and I go as far away from people as possible because I really didn't feel like communicating. And I was scrolling my phone, doing whatever I was doing. And I could sense a presence coming towards me. And I look up and I see Ramon waving as he's approaching me. I was just like, great, he's found me. So we start talking, and I'm thinking, like, okay, it's his job. He recognizes that I'm here alone. He's just being friendly. I should be friendly back. But inside, I'm just kind of thinking, leave me alone. Like, go talk to somebody else.
I'm on solo-cation for a reason, fella.
Yeah.
Goodbye,
and there was
Ramon.
just like this kind of like flirty energy, like friendly but flirty, and I just really wasn't in the mood.
Can you give us like a picture of him? Like, what's his vibe? Or do you want to wait? Your eyes just got bigger than I've ever seen any eyes get.
Well, because like, of course I could totally give you a picture, but let me describe first. So let me tell you, my first instinct was zero attraction.
Copy.
Not my
Not
type,
into it.
just wasn't interested. So he's 5'7", like medium build, is decent looking enough, just not my type. But what was really distinct about him is he had an interesting hairdo. So I don't know what the technical term is, but I will tell you, it's like, picture this. It's shaved all over except for the top part.
Like a mohawk?
No, that sounds cooler. It's like it's long.
Is it like what the kids are calling it, a low taper fade?
I feel like, is it where they have like the top kind of tied up in a little ponytail or a bun or something?
Does he look like a tool bag, Laura?
We're trying to describe. She's like, guys, you can't even imagine.
If it was a man bun, then there would be no story because this literally wouldn't have happened. But no, okay, so it's the kind where it's like long on top, but he styles it so there has to be an absurd amount of like gel.
Okay.
Well, actually, I watched him do it eventually, but there's an absurd amount of gel and a lot of like blow drying back and forth to try and get it to sit on top like a cone.
So it's like Pauly D?
Like Pauly D?
From Jersey Shore.
Yes, I think that's probably correct. It was shiny because of all the gel and the hairspray.
Yeah.
It defies gravity. But anyway, it was distinct. And he just wasn't my type. Zero attraction. That's all I can really say with trying to remain kind.
Was he around your age?
I didn't know. I really couldn't tell. This was a few years ago. I was in my early 40s at that time. I don't necessarily look or identify as my age, so it's really hard for me to gauge what other people's ages are. So I guess we were sort of in the same range.
You were in like year 18 or something, like super young.
No.
Yeah, he was like
I do eventually find out his age, and I promise I'll tell all that. So
thank you for that.
Anyway, so he's approaching me. We're making small talk. I'm being friendly because, as I said, I'm Canadian, and so we have to, be friendly. But on the inside, I'm like, just go away. Like, I'm not interested. And it wasn't overtly flirting, but there was this sense of flirting, right? He knows I'm there alone. Anyway, so we talk for a little bit. He tells me some things about his life, and then he carries on. He's like, I can't stay with you for too long because management will notice if I'm talking to guests for too long. I'm like, okay, great. See you around.
They didn't want you around here anyways.
Yeah. You weren't invited. Anyway, so continue doing my thing. The day passes. It's now dinner time, and I'm traveling alone. And so the days are really long when you travel alone. So I was the first in line at the buffet at 6 p.m. when it opens. So I eat my meal, and then I decide, rather than go back to my room, I decide I'm going to sit and people watch for a little bit. So I'm doing my thing. Again, I'm on my phone, not paying attention, probably texting people back home. And I sense somebody coming towards me. Guess who it is? It's Mr. Ramon. He's found me again. So we start having conversations. He's asking me how my day was, telling me a little bit more about his life, and he seems friendly enough. He kind of has this like nice guy energy, puppy dog kind of energy, but sprinkled in with like greasy, sleazy energy, right?
Ew, tool bag.
It's quite a combo.
Yeah.
So we're talking more and more, and then he asks me for my phone number, and he's like literally right across from me. I'm like, this is awkward. What do I do? But it's like the second day of my vacation. This guy works there. I panic. So I give him my phone number, obviously. And I'm like, I can just block him when it's over. It's too hard to avoid him for the week.
Yeah.
Gotta give him my number.
That's a good point. You're like, I might as well just let him think that everything's fine. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what am I supposed to do?
I've been in that situation. I think people are quick to be like, why would you give it to them? And it's like, first of all, you have a flight or fight response a little bit, even though it's not like a threat. But it is a real weird feeling to be like, oh,
it's totally on the spot. Like,
yeah,
literally, what are you supposed to do? But then it gets worse. He then puts me on the spot and he's like, well, tomorrow's my day off. Would you be my date tomorrow? I'm like, your date? Like, what do you mean? So he's like, yeah, I just thought you had the day off and I just wondered if maybe you wanted to go and explore the town with me. Inside, I'm thinking that sounds like a way to get murdered. Like, absolutely not. And I don't know you. Like, why? But like, what am I supposed to do? He's literally asking me. So I said, well, I'll think about it. I'm very non-committal. I'll think about it. He's like, well, I got to get going, but you should really come to the show tonight. It's really good. I'm the manager of entertainment. So he's in charge of all of the nighttime shows, the pool Zumba people. So I'm like, well, I don't know. I'll see. So he goes off. When it's time to collect people for the show, he then comes and finds me. And I'm like, whatever. I don't need to be in bed at 9 o'clock. Just go. So as soon as we get to the show, he starts texting me because, of course, he has my phone number. And the first text he sends me is how beautiful he thinks I am and how he was so nervous to approach me at the pool. I was so intimidating, but you're so beautiful and I'm so glad I had the courage to do it. And I'm just like, well, this kind of feels nice. Feels kind of creepy, but like,
you're on vacation. It's nice to have someone flirt with you on vacation.
And also YOLO. Like, yeah, okay.
YOLO. I'm not attracted to him. I feel like this is part of his job. But anyway. So he carries on. So as the manager of the entertainment, he turns out to be the MC of the show. So he's up there on the stage and he's doing his thing. And then when he's not on the stage, he's texting me. So as the show is wrapping up, he goes back on the stage and the lights start to come on and he encourages the audience to start dancing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, forget that. I am out. I don't dance, but certainly not with the lights on. So I bolt. I go back to my...
I don't dance, certainly not with the lights on.
So, and I definitely wasn't intoxicated enough. So anyway, it's late. I go back to my room. I get ready for bed. And sure enough, I get a text from Ramon. And he's like, where did you go? I'm like, well, as soon as you turn the lights on, I bolted. He's like, I didn't think your legs could walk that fast because I'm not very tall. I'm only 5'1". And he's like, well,
that's a weird negging flirt thing to say.
Yeah. He's like, well, where did you go? Like, I want to see you. Like, well, I'm in bed. It's time for me to be in bed. He's like, well, I really want to see you. Why don't you come and go for a walk on the beach with me? I'm like, no, dude, like it's pitch black and it's midnight. Absolutely not. And inside, I'm like, I know exactly what you want on this beach. And I'm not interested in you. You either want to hook up with me or you want to murder me. And
either way, I'm not having it.
No. So anyway, say goodnight. I put my phone in do not disturb. All is well. I go to sleep. Next day, I wake up, I do my thing, and it's like lunchtime or something, and I haven't heard from him. So I'm like, he must have found somebody else. I'm off the hook.
Totally.
All is well. No, he just was still sleeping. So at some point, he sends me a message, and he's like, so what time are we meeting today? I'm like, well, I actually didn't realize that I had committed to it. So I end up having this internal pro/con conversation in my head. And I'd had a couple drinks at this point. But basically, I was like, you're an adult. YOLO. It could be kind of fun to explore with a local.
You don't got no rules. Ain't nobody your mama.
No. And like, it seems fairly safe. Like, he seems like a nice guy. I'm a nice person. So what makes me think that he's not a nice guy? I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure. Let's get together. So I assume that we're going to meet in the public space where we're going to go explore. And he's like, well, actually, why don't you come to my house? And then we can go together. And I'm thinking, why did you commit to this? You know exactly what's going to happen. But YOLO. Okay, fine. So I get in a cab.
And I'm a grown-up, so I'll do what I want.
I'm a grown-up with a 4 at the front of my age. I can do this. So I get into the cab. I give them the address. I take note of where we're going. We're like 20 minutes from the resort. One reassuring thing on the drive was we passed by a police station. I'm like, good to know, just in case I need it for later. Cab pulls up and I send him a message saying, pretty sure I'm here. Like, hurry up. This is awkward. He texts me and I'm expecting that he's going to be waiting for me. Because when I know somebody's coming to my place, I'm like waiting and watching. And then we're going to just go.
Yeah.
So he sends me a message and he's like, should I come down naked?
No. Ew. Come on. Really?
No.
Immediately, I'm like, fuck, like, why? What am I doing? You felt this? You knew this? Why are you here? And so I was like, haha, hurry up and come down. Not funny. Anyway, he gets down and he's like, well, come on up. Like, let's just go. He's like, well, I'm not quite ready yet. So I'm like, okay. I look at his hair and it's not quite done.
It's not coiffed.
So I go upstairs and he lives in this really cute studio apartment, but it's really small. So it's a studio apartment. There's not a lot of places to sit. The bed basically takes up the majority of the space. So I walk in the door and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stand here because I'm not going to the bed. I'm just going to stand and let him do his thing. But obviously he's like, come, have a seat. Let's hang out for a little bit. I did think ahead and I did bring a couple drinks with me from the resort. So I pull one out of my bag and I'm like, here, do you want one? Because this is super awkward. So we have a drink and we are initially pretty far apart on the bed, just sitting, fully clothed. And by the time I'm finished my drink, he's literally right beside me, like touching. And I'm just like, this is so awkward. We're having good conversation. He's telling me about his family and his mom and his sisters and his nieces. Like he's presenting, he's this nice guy, right? And he's like closer to me and you could just, you can feel the energy.
Yes.
I've been feeling the energy this whole time.
I know,
Laura,
right?
And it doesn't feel great.
Oh, but wait.
Oh,
so I'm just, it's just
God.
like thick in the air. And I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I guess we're doing this. So
Okay.
he starts kissing me. So we're like making out. And I'm like, okay. I have a little buzz. It's okay.
And YOLO, whatever.
And YOLO. And next thing you know, we're having sex. So it's amazing, the progression, but it's kind of like you're there, you feel it, not feel it, but like feel like the energy and you're just like, doesn't matter. What happens on vacation stays on vacation.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
We have grown up activity and it's fun. It's
You're
great,
having a play
actually.
date.
It's pretty fun. I'm trying not to think too much about what the hell's happening because it's not my usual style. And it's just gross. Honestly, it's just so not expected because I'm not attracted to this guy. Anyway, so we do that and then we decide to leave his place and then we head finally towards downtown. So we go for some food, we wander around some stores, there's lots of bars and stuff, and we're just having a good time. We're getting to know each other. He's sharing a bit more of what his life looks like and some of his past. And I'm opening up a little bit to him about what's happening in my life and who I am. So I learn in that conversation that he's actually 9 years younger than me. And so immediately I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. Ugh. But then I was like, but wait a minute. Who cares? I don't know this guy. He didn't know my age and I'm never going to see him again.
Doesn't matter.
So
YOLO.
what does it matter? Doesn't matter. YOLO. So anyway, have a great time. We're together for, I don't know, a few hours. We end up taking a taxi back. I drop him off at his place. He then sends me back to the resort. And I get back to my room and I literally, as I'm laying to go to sleep, I'm like, well, I didn't die. And that was actually pretty fun. So whatever.
So he kind of came around like throughout the day.
Like
he
it
started
wasn't
being
super obnoxious and sexually aggressive the whole time. Obviously less so after we had sex, but like it just, like I said, he was that mix of like sweet and charming with the sprinkle of ick.
But was there a part of you that was like, because I'm not usually like this, I'm more willing. What am I trying to say? Like, I'm more willing to like have a fun random story.
A little bit. Another piece I didn't mention because it really isn't that important to this story, but like I had been seeing somebody for a few months prior to my trip and he ghosted me between Christmas and New Year's. And so I was in my feelings.
That does feel
when I went on
relevant,
this trip.
Laura,
yes.
for sure.
So I think part of it was that motto, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody. So I was not looking for it.
We've all heard
at
that.
all. But truly, what was going through my brain while it was happening was I was thinking about the guy that ghosted me, and I was thinking, what the hell are you doing? This is weird, but let's try this. The best way to get over somebody is under. And to be honest,
gotta get back on the horse in a way.
there is something to that. I'm not recommending we all go hook up with resort workers, but there is something to it, especially when obviously I'm never going to see this person again. So it's low risk. The other thing that was going through my mind as this was happening was, I bet you he does this all the time. New girl every day, every week, every whatever. And
He's a ladies' man, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was pretty gross to be thinking about in that moment. But anyway,
we've all been there in our own
we've all
ways.
made interesting decisions.
Yes.
But so the next day I wake up and it's actually kind of more fun because now I feel like I have a bit of a friend at the resort.
Yeah.
Not only a friend, but there's this secret between us because obviously, well, I don't have any friends at the resort, so I'm not telling anybody, but I can't let anybody at the resort know that he's just slept with a guest.
Yeah.
So it's this like spicy, flirty, fun stuff. So basically, this continues on for the rest of my vacation. There's flirting throughout the day. And then in the evening, after the show was over, I would end up going back to his place and spending the night. But really didn't ask too many questions. Like I got to know about him on a high level, but really didn't care to ask any deep questions because what's it matter? So the day that I leave, I meet up with him in the lobby of the hotel and we say goodbye. And it actually ends up being harder than I had expected.
Oh,
so
really?
I get on the bus to say goodbye and I'm like shedding a little tear.
Him a little bit.
A little. And
I'm alone.
Well, he's, with a name like that, know you've got charm. So as the bus is pulling away and I'm in my feelings, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, what just happened? You didn't even want to talk to him. You were not attracted to him, but now you're sad to say goodbye. So I fly back to Canada. And by the time I land and I turn my phone on, it has completely blown up.
I'm sure.
I really didn't expect to hear from him again. It's just full of how much he misses me, how much it was the best time he'd ever had, and how he was so glad that he had approached me because he was so scared and I was so beautiful. And you can just imagine, right? And so I was just like, oh, well, that feels good for the ego, but what am I going to do with this? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. But what happens on vacation stays on vacation.
Do we keep texting? Like, why?
Like, what do we do here? Yeah. Anyway, it turns out we do continue texting. And so we are texting sporadically for a few days. We're getting to know each other a little bit more. I'm learning more about his family. And I can't remember exactly how quickly it happened, but next thing you know, he's calling me babe. And when somebody starts texting you babe,
that's girlfriendish.
It just kind of ends up that you start texting babe back. Like, I don't know. It caught me off guard initially, but then I was like, well, okay. Babe is easier to type than Ramon.
You can't roll your R's over text. Come on.
No, exactly. And then, like you said, it then led to he could see a future with me. He wanted me to be his girlfriend. In fact, he really, really wished that we could have a baby together, that we could just have this life together.
Wait, how soon after?
How did it progress to that? Not very long, like maybe a week.
Wow. He's making plans.
He really likes you, I guess. Ramon.
I mean,
or does he need money? I'm like, what is he after here? I don't know.
Exactly. But that's not what my brain was thinking.
No,
and nor
I wouldn't think that either unless I was on this podcast.
And also, we all know about love bombing, right? Especially like from a distance. We know what it is. But when we're in it, we don't necessarily recognize it as love bombing. So he's really making me feel good and saying all these things that I didn't even know that I wanted to hear. So somehow we're in a long distance relationship, wants to have a baby with me. And I'm really trying to process this. Some of my friends back home knew that I hooked up with a resort worker, but they didn't really know anything else. And so I'm not saying a lot in the very beginning because I'm trying to process this. And I know realistically, this this would never work. Like, we live in different countries. There's a bit of a language barrier. And also, I'm 9 years older. As I said, I'm early 40s at this point. Never had kids, always wanted to have kids, but it just wasn't in the cards for me. He didn't know that. I had never brought up children to him. But I did feel kind of extra sad on that birthday, thinking I'm never going to get to be a mom. And so
And then he starts saying this.
Then he starts saying it. And I'm a big believer in, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in the universe and all of that stuff. So I'm like, maybe I had to meet this guy in this weird situation for that. We keep talking. And so we met in January. By middle of February, we're talking about me coming back, the beginning of March. So 2 months after I've met him. I naively assumed that I would go back and I would stay at his place. And all I got to do is I've got to pay for my flight. I'll stay at his place. Maybe I'll get a day pass or whatever at the resort, but he's my boyfriend. Obviously, I'll stay at his house. No, he had a different plan. He's like, you should stay at the resort because I'll be working all of the time. So it just makes sense. And I'm thinking, do you have any idea what this costs? Like, the last time I was at the resort, I upgraded my room. I had a swim out room with a pool, and I spent like 2 nights in it.
Yeah.
Well, that was a waste of money. This time I'm like, I'm not doing that because I'm not even going to be sleeping there. And also, it costs a fair amount of money to take a cab back and forth from the resort to his place. Anyway.
Also, if you're staying there, are you allowed to hook, like, isn't there a whole dynamic between employee and guest?
Yeah, exactly.
I would be like,
would
why
have to be secretive.
That? Yeah.
So I should probably share, maybe I should have shared this earlier. Some of my past relationship history has been not the best. I've been with narcissists. I've experienced emotional abuse. I've learned that if I have any kind of an opinion or disagree with something, I tend to get thrown away, ghosted, yelled at. So I just try really, in this point in my life, I used to try to just really keep the peace, go with the flow, you know.
He's smaller.
Yeah. And I say used to because I learned a lot from this experience. I'm not like that and at any other point in my life, just when it comes to men.
The Sleep Number Smart Bed is the best bed for couples, and there's a good reason for that. Only Sleep Number Smart Beds let you choose your ideal comfort and support on your side of the bed. Firmer or softer on either side. Sleep Number does that. Perhaps you want your side cooler, and your partner wants their side warmer. Sleep Number does that too. You choose what's right for you, making it the best bed for the both of you. The Sleep Number Smart Bed will even automatically respond and adjust to your movements to help you sleep comfortably all night long. Your smart bed will even learn how you sleep and provide you personalized insights to help you sleep even better. Why choose a Sleep Number Smart Bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. And now, save 40% on the new Sleep Number Special Edition Smart Bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code Wondery for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code Wondery at checkout.
So anyway, so I didn't want to ruffle the feathers. I definitely on the inside was confused and hurt and annoyed because it's not cheap, and I had just gone and I don't go to the same place twice. But anyway, here we are. So I booked the trip and we're both really excited, counting down the days till I'm going to see him again. And then he sort of subtly asks if I could look for his favorite candy. It's a candy that he can only get it in Canada. So I go searching and I find the candy and, you know, why get one bag when I can get a case? So I buy a case, you know, it was only 12 bags, but still. So I'm excited to tell him I found the stuff, I got it. And then I start talking more about our trip. He then sends me a picture of the sole of his shoe. and it's like peeled off. It's barely attached to his shoe. His sock is exposed. And he's like, I guess I need new shoes, huh? And I'm like, wow, that looks pretty bad. This guy's on his feet for, I don't know, 16 hours a day. You know, it's pretty important that your shoes are attached. So he asks me if I could pick up some shoes for him, being the supportive, loving girlfriend, not trying to think about, you know, could he possibly be using me for money? Even though if it was somebody else, that would be my thought. But of course, sure, send me the shoes you want. $250 running shoes. Okay. That's expensive.
Was he keeping up that, like, I can't get them here for whatever reason?
Basically, yeah. But I didn't pry too much because I don't know. It's so funny how quickly you can get attached to somebody and to the idea of something. And when you have this past trauma of being shut out or thrown away, it's not a nice way to say thrown away, but that's how you feel when somebody just cuts off communication because they disagree or they question something. Anyway, and then he also asked if I could find this cologne that he loves. He can't find it there. So I find it. Or maybe it was that it was too expensive there. I can't remember. Turns out it's expensive here too. But you know, I am all in. I'm this great girlfriend. Sure, I'll bring it. And then this one. So he's got those three things that, you know, it was interesting how he sort of asked price-wise. It started to get bigger, which was smart on his behalf. I didn't really think about that at the time, but it is pretty smart. He then planted the seed that he really wanted an Apple Watch. And it just really wanted one. I was like, yeah, I have one. They're great. And he's talking about it. And he asks if I will bring him one and he will pay me back. So, and I realized
the audacity.
And I realize how pathetic this sounds. I really do.
No.
Removed from it.
Not pathetic.
See the forest through the trees when all the trees are falling on you at once.
Yes. You're hopeful. I was in it, so why wouldn't he? So I'm like, yes, but you got to pay me back because, you know, this is expensive. All this stuff's expensive. The trip's expensive, whatever. Great. Get the watch. Pumped to see me. He's like, you know what we should do? We should do an excursion or something on my day off. We should have a date day. I'm like, you're right. We should have a date day because we just can't do anything when we want to. So we start talking about things to do, and he suggests we go ziplining. Great. Think that's a great idea. He had previously told me that being the manager of entertainment, he often gets free vouchers for excursions and stuff as a way of, you know, he experiences them and then he can talk to guests about it and it helps with sales. So I assumed that he would take care of us going there. I was wrong because I ended up booking that. So that was $150, $150 US each. But whatever, I'm all in. I'm like freaking out a little bit about how much is this costing, but I'm in. And then he's like, well, you know what? Cirque du Soleil is actually playing here, and I've always wanted to go.
Oh, bless it. Oh, Lord. Hold on. Time out. Offsides. I need to keep a fucking tally.
I know, you should start adding up.
So we need, so Apple Watch, shoes, du Soleil, cologne.
And then there was one other thing.
Adventure.
Oh, the zip lining.
Right.
Yeah.
And the flights in the resort.
Yep.
And you paid for all this and was like, he's going to give you back with the money.
Well, I was expecting the money for sure for the watch. I was hopeful that there would be some kind of...
The rest of it, you were like, oh, he'll pay me back. It's fine.
Yeah.
Halvesies, at least on our date day. Cirque du Soleil tickets are always expensive, but these ones were $300 US each.
Yeah.
Okay. So just the date day, $300 for zip lining, $600 for Cirque du Soleil. And then I had to rent a car so that we could get to these places. Very expensive day. Anyway, so I travel there again. I'm really excited. Can't wait to see him. And I land and I tell him I'm on my way. And he's telling me how tired he is and that he's going to try and get off work early. And I must be tired too. So he'll see me tomorrow. And I'm like,
excuse me?
I just flew all the way here again to see you. I'm like, oh, I'm really not that tired. And I was really excited to see you. Oh, and I have a whole suitcase full of shit for you.
Yeah,
So,
that part.
as soon as I reminded him of that, he's like, oh, yeah, okay, well, if you're not going to be too tired, sure, come by my place. As I was heading to the resort, he shared with me he had some unfortunate news that the owners of the resort were in town. And so he would probably have to work some extra hours because everything had to be perfect because the owners were there. And I don't know how this works. I don't know if it seemed feasible. Sure.
Yeah.
VPs and owners drop by.
Yeah. And then also he can't talk to you like in public or something. He'd make some excuse for that too. No, that makes sense.
But he's like, I'm really excited you're here, but I'm going to have to work a lot of hours. Like, okay, well, that's a bummer. So I head to his place. I give him his Christmas presents. He's very excited for all of the things. And we have a really great reunion. Everything is great, normal, happy. He's so excited I'm there. Can't wait to spend the week with me. Can't wait to have a baby. All is well.
One, two, just the natural progression.
So you know that when you want to have a baby, you're not doing anything to prevent having a baby. So we're doing the thing.
You playing with fire.
That's right. Anyway, have a great time. The next day, go to the resort, do our thing. Like he's working, whatever. And that night, he's like, I'm really tired. I just want to sleep tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, okay. I'm under this impression that my long distance boyfriend that I've flown across the country to see, I'm going to be sleeping in his place every night because we only have so many opportunities. I was wrong. I ended up staying there for 7 nights. I think I was there maybe 3 times, maybe.
And did you see him at the resort?
I saw him at the resort because he was working and we had our epic date day. We had a great time. Like everything felt normal, except that he was always tired because of the owners of the resort and all the extra work. So I was only at his place. I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 times. It was not every night like one would expect. And I was really, really hurt, confused, disappointed, but also pissed off because I hadn't upgraded my room this time. And like the bed was uncomfortable. And anyway, I know, big problems. So at some point when I'm there, he shares with me that he has always wanted to work on a cruise. And he's scared to tell me, but he has been offered a job on a cruise line and he really wants to do a contract, which is typically 6 to 7 months long. And once that contract's up, he'll come to Canada. But he wants to do it because it's always been his dream. And anytime this opportunity has come up, there's been a woman in his life who's gotten in the way of that. Well, who wants to be the woman that crushes a guy's dreams?
Of course, right? Yeah.
So I'm hurt and disappointed, but I'm like, okay, go for it. And also I'm thinking, he's saying he's going to make all this money and it's tax-free and it's going to allow him money in Canada. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of a relief because he can't work when he comes to Canada for a while and I'm going to have to support him. And if I end up getting pregnant, then this is not good. At least he'll have some money.
Wow.
So anyway, he drops that little nugget on me that he wants to go work on a cruise. So overall, the second week that we're together, it's good. He's still saying he wants a future with me, wants a baby. It's just not what I had anticipated. There certainly were some little flags, but I was just trying really hard to, this is hard.
Yeah, you wanted to
long distance is hard.
To work. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I get back in March this time, then things start happening for him to get ready to get on the cruise. So in order to do that, he needed to get a police check, a medical, he had to take a course, and all of those things cost money. Well, he wasn't so sure he had the money. He didn't know how he was going to make it happen, but this is his dream job. And I'm just like, trying to be super supportive. And anytime stuff came up with money, I was always trying to be super supportive. I'm like, well, can you ask your family for help? Can you ask any level of family, can you ask for help? No, they don't have money. They can't help. And so I didn't like come right out and ask, but eventually he got me to a place of feeling guilty,
Yeah.
feeling like I should, like I had to. And I have no idea how much money he made, but I was very aware that I obviously made substantially more. So I was like, well, if I'm all in, I should help this
Yeah.
guy.
At this point, if you're planning a future together, it makes sense to want to
Yeah,
help him.
exactly. And if he's going to work on this cruise and make all this money, he will be able to pay me back. So I'm like, well, I can loan you some money, but you got to pay me back. Same with the watch. You got to pay me back. So,
Sorry, I might have missed that. Did he pay you back for the watch? No. Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Well,
Okay. He's still saying he might.
yes, for sure. So I help him through that. And he was set to go to start his cruise contract in May. So in April, I'm wanting to see him again because once he's on this cruise contract, he's saying I can come visit, but I don't actually know what that's going to look like. So I'm trying to get him to commit to a time when I can come back and see him. But I'm also saying to him, maybe you should quit the resort 2 weeks early so that you can go spend some time with your family. Because he's talking about how important they are to him. And I don't know, family is really important to me. My mom had died a couple of years before I met him. And so I was just really sensitive to how important that is, right? Anything can happen when you're away. So he does end up quitting his job and he's going to go home. They lived sort of in the middle of the country. So he'd have to fly to go see where his family is. It was like 2 days before he was to be flying home to see his parents. And he had a move out date with his apartment and everything. And so I asked about his flight details. He's like, well, actually, I haven't booked my flight yet because I don't know how I'm going to get the money. I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I'm like, what do you mean?
Hint, 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 hint.
How have you not booked your flight? Like, wouldn't you do that before you? Anyway, so we all know what happened. I send him the money because what am I going to do? Send him the money. At several points leading up to the cruise, I try to say to him, hey, maybe we should just end this like in a nice way, but you should go work on this cruise single. Like, why would you want to have a relationship?
Be tied down,
like, it's
yeah.
just, yeah. And he's like, really, he was offended by my suggestion. No, I like you a lot. I want to have this. I think he was saying, I love you at that point. I want to have a family with you. Absolutely not. We can do anything. We'll get through this. It's just short amount of time, whatever. I'm in with you. Great. So the day that he's flying to see his family, unfortunately, he couldn't get a direct flight. So I had an idea of of course I had an idea of what his flight was because I helped book it.
Right.
I knew he had a layover, but it wasn't a very long layover, like 2 hours maybe. I wasn't expecting to hear from him. I get this panicked video call from him and he's almost in tears. He's like, I'm so upset. I missed my flight. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, how did you miss your flight? It's like, I don't know. I was sitting at the gate and then they told me I missed my flight. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, but go to the
yeah, and get it worked out. You're a grown up. You can figure it out.
Yes. He's like in his mid 30s. Go deal with it. And he's like, I'm just so stressed out. They say that I have to buy a new ticket. They say that there's nothing that they can do. What am I going to do? I'm stuck here. I'm like, so the same cycle. Well, can you ask your mom? No. Can you ask your sister? No. Can you ask your grandpa? I should also just correct one thing because I'm going to continue to say it later on. His grandfather helped to raise him. So sometimes he called him grandpa. Sometimes he called him dad. So I'm going to refer to him as grandpa/dad. So I'm like, can grandpa/dad help? Nobody can help. Nope. And I'm like, well, could they drive to pick you up? Like, I know that that's what my parents would have done. No, it's too far. Can't do it. I'm like, okay. So I guess the only option here is for me to help you out. Yeah, I really don't want to ask for help, but I don't know what else to do. So I personally book the flight for him. We get it sorted out. He's on his way. He gets to his mom's house. He's so relieved. He's so happy, so grateful for me. I've saved the day yet again. So once he's there for a couple days, I'm like, okay, so I'm just checking in. I'd still really like to see you before you go on the cruise. Is there any way I can come? I can come to where you are, but I need to ask for time off work. He's like, well, I don't know what the schedule is here. I really want to see you, but can I get back to you? Okay, I'm a rational person. No problem. So he tells me that he has to drive his grandpa/dad to some 3 hours away to some family party. And so he's not actually going to be available for me to come visit him. Grandpa/dad is old and he might not ever see this family again.
Yeah.
So it's really unfortunate, but I hope you understand. As I said, my mom has died. And so I don't have any grandparents. So you're tugging at my heartstrings. Of course, sure, nothing's promised. So I'm like, okay, I'm bummed. I'm disappointed. I could come to where you're driving, but I guess, of course I understand. He's like, I know, I really miss you. I wish I could see you too, but I really need you to not be selfish in this moment. You're being very selfish.
Oh,
Like,
oh
And
boy.
how did that feel
Yeah.
to hear?
Awful. I'm like, are you kidding me? Selfish? I'm trying to be so accommodating. And so, looking back, I'm sure there are moments that I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why? Why are you doing this? Leave. Cut it. You didn't even like this guy. But I think there's such a part of you that's in it. And like, everything I said to him was truthful. And so I believed that he was also being truthful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, nothing is perfect. Long distance is hard at the best of times. So try to be really understanding. So we get that all sorted. Then he says to me one day in the middle of our random texting, he's like, oh, babe, I just got some terrible news. I'm like, what? He's like, I just found out that I need to have a laptop for my job on the cruise.
No, Lord, it's like $1,500.
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, there's courses that we have to take.
They have a little computer room on cruises, okay?
Right.
They've got rooms with old desktops. He can go take his course there, bud.
He also has an iPad. And so I'm like, well, can you not take it on your iPad? He's like, no, they said in the group chat that it doesn't work. You need a laptop. I'm like, well, that's a bummer. Like, what are you going to do? Can you sell your iPad and get a laptop? You could get a cheap laptop for a few $100.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I really wanted a MacBook Pro.
I really want
like,
$1 million.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy sure has some taste. He knows all the expensive labels. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I understand you wanting that, but could you not just get something to get you by? And then when you're making money on the cruise, get one?
Yeah.
No, I'll figure it out. So what do? Well, can you ask your mom? Can you ask your sister?
That's what I was going to say. Ask your mama.
Yeah.
Lord
Ask
Jesus.
anybody.
Just not
right?
me.
No, I can figure it out. They can't help me. I already asked. They can't help me. Don't worry. I always find a way. I'm like, okay. But then, of course, it keeps coming up. He hasn't found a way. He's panicking.
What am I going to do? This job's going to fall through. Oh, and making me
all of it.
Like, sit and listen to that.
So what do you think Babe does? This Babe.
You feel guilty and you help.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I can help you, but you have to pay me back. Like, all of this has been so much money. You really got to pay me back. I will. I promise. As soon as I start getting paid, I'll pay you every pay. Okay. So I send him the money. I don't know. Yeah, 1,500 US maybe. They're like 2,000, 2,300 Canadian. There's a lot of money, right? So we're really racking up the money here.
Yeah.
Feel sick to my stomach, but I do it because I don't know. Just this person that shows up in relationships that I'm not proud of, Anyway, so he gets the laptop. This part matters later in the story, but I'm going to tell you that I sent him the money on May 4th. He got the laptop on May 5th. I'll tell you, Cinco de Mayo. Okay.
Oh, yes. Cinco de
Mayo. Really
Mayo.
important day.
I was going to ask that too, if you sent him the money directly or if you bought, like, all of these things, some of them you're buying them directly, like the flights. Did you buy them directly or did you send him the money to buy them?
So The initial stuff I bought directly and took to him. The first round of flights and medical stuff was, well, I ended up going to Western Union for the first few times in my life. I've never been before and never been since, but I started doing money transfers to him.
Okay.
How much were you sending at a time?
Well, whatever he needed.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you, I think I could probably tell you around now. We're at like $9,000 at this
shit.
point. With the laptop, with all the things, it ultimately ends up being in like $9,000.
And that doesn't even include the travel that you did.
Oh, that's not my travel. No, let's not look at that.
Of course not. No. That's a problem for another day.
Exactly. So yeah, but like money transfers. So for the laptop, because he didn't give me much, there was no way to really problem solve this. I ended up having to send him money, and then he went to the store and got the computer. And on May 5th, he sent me a picture of his shiny new laptop still in the box. He really couldn't wait to open it. I've saved the day yet again. Great. Anyway, so it's now time for him to start the cruise contract. So I don't get to see him. The night before he goes on the cruise, we have a FaceTime and we're talking about stuff. And he's saying that he's really stressed because they have last minute changed the name of the ship that he's going to be working on. And I was like, well, he had told me the first ship name, and then he told me the next ship name, and he's really bummed. And I'm like, I'm sure it's going to be just as great. I'm sure this stuff happens all the time. It's no big deal. It's like, yeah, I know, but I'm just stressed. Okay, whatever.
Why is that so stressful? Does it like change a lot of his programming
Who
names?
knows?
Did he have like a cute alliteration name made for a show or something?
No, I don't think so. It really didn't matter. It shouldn't have mattered to him, but it does matter further into the story.
Okay. He was stressed about it. And
yes.
I don't want to invalidate his feelings.
That's right. His feelings are very, very real. So he plans to see the night before he goes that the ship name he had told me is now invalid. It's a different ship. Okay, great. No big deal to me. He starts working on the cruise and he's tired. He's kind of cranky. He's overwhelmed. All of the things, which one might expect. You know, it is overwhelming to be in a new job, learning new things. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying really hard to be super supportive and sympathetic. He's not asking me anything about my life at all.
It's all about him.
100% about him. So I, at some point, try to share with him that I didn't have a great day. Work was stressful. I just needed to talk to my boyfriend. I just wanted to share. I didn't have a great day.
Yeah.
And I basically was told that I needed to stop being so negative, that my life is much easier than his, and I should just get over it. I was like,
what?
Well, that's
swear to God.
Delightful.
Swear to God. And so he's like, you know what? I can't do this right now. And he just stopped responding to me. As I shared earlier, I have this thing where people just stop responding, and like as their way of the silent treatment, as the way of punishing me. So,
oh no,
he knew that was a problem for me. It's a trigger, and he promised he would never do it, but he started doing it. And I don't know if you guys, how you are, or if this has happened to you, but when that happens, I get really anxious. And then I start to panic and I try to fix things.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't do anything wrong, I'm trying to be like, oh my God,
you go into fix it mode. Yeah.
It's like the anxious attachment. Right? Yeah.
100%.
Totally. And sometimes you're doing things that aren't actually pushing them away because you're just trying to do something. At least that's how I've done it.
Yes. And like when things are done over text, like typing, of course, tone can be misinterpreted. Of course, things. So I'm like trying to, because all I can do is message, because he said the internet's so expensive, it's so spotty. So our whole relationship while he's on the cruise, he's telling me that we can't FaceTime, internet's not fast enough. Even though I have had drunk relatives on that same cruise line have no problem FaceTiming me, no spotty stuff. But anyway, again, not trying to ruffle any feathers. So anyways, he ghosts me. He doesn't respond to anything for a few days at this point. And I'm spiraling. There's nothing I can do. Then one day he messages me and he's all stressed out that he didn't pack enough like deodorant and laundry detergent, like basic essentials. And he didn't know how he was going to get them because he's on a ship. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't you bring those from home?
Yeah.
Because you're going to be on a ship. But
yeah.
anyway, he apparently didn't. And so as an attempt to de-stress him and be a people pleaser and get us back to a good place, I tell him, I'm sure we can get Amazon there. Send me a list of what you need and I'll get it sorted out. Of course, he did that. And it was a list of things that cost $150. It was like hair gel.
Well, yeah.
Very important.
For the
Buy out
pompadour.
Amazon.
For the pompadour, for the Jersey Mike. What's
For
his
the
name?
bouffant.
The
Pauly
bouffant.
That's right.
Pauly D.
Gallons of hair gel, hairspray, extra firm. It was laundry detergent. It was butt wipes. You name it.
I do like a good butt wipe.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, so I have this list. He tells me you can have Amazon shipped to this place. And then when I'm in port, I go there or somehow it gets to the ship. Anyway, like, great. Tell me where to mail it. So he gives me the information. What has to be on there is obviously his name, the department he works in, and also the ship name, in addition to the address of where it's being shipped to.
Okay.
So he gives me the ship name, and it's the original ship name, the first ship. And I'm like, but I thought you got moved to a different ship.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, I know, I did. But everything gets shipped to this first ship.
What? No, it doesn't. Shut up.
Because it's so big. And then once it's on that ship, they then, shoot it to other ships. I'm like, I've never even been on a cruise. It sounds ridiculous.
That is so baloney. Stop.
It is baloney. It's a complete and utter lie. But why wouldn't I believe him? And it's so ridiculous. Even just re-saying it's ridiculous, but you're right. Anyway, so red flag number one. It's going to the old ship, but you're not on it. So anyway, send him the stuff. He's thrilled. He's got all the stuff that he needs now. So at that point, it's June. Everything's sort of okay, highs and lows. We talk late at night. For the most part, we're good. We're still talking about the future. Still loves me. There are requests for spicy pictures and videos, as one would imagine when you're at a long distance relationship.
Was this new, or that's a personal question? You don't have to talk about it.
No,
I just mean in terms of like if it came up in a weird way or if it was like organic, and I don't know, because
I think it was
his opening line was, "Do you want me to come downstairs naked?" So I could see him being a little
we didn't share any intimate photos or videos until the cruise, but it would be him asking specifically for it, and I'm like, well, if I don't want him to cheat on me, okay. So anyway, there was enough of that, let's just say. And then middle of July, I get another, I'm not having a good day.
Of course not.
You'll never believe this, but I dropped my phone on the ship and it shattered. And it's in a million pieces and it doesn't work. And now I'm screwed.
You're the sugar mama.
I'm like,
Lord, jeez.
I'm like, well, how are you messaging me then if your phone's busted? He's like, well, actually, thankfully, I have this the computer, because I can do what's... Yes, that I have not received a payment for. It's now July, so he started in May. There's been some paychecks.
He hasn't paid you for anything?
He hasn't brought it up, and I don't want to ruffle feathers.
Right.
So I'm just... But every time, I don't know if he got paid weekly or whatever, but I'm very aware he could find a way to send me money. But he's like, well, you can use WhatsApp on your Apple, on your computer. I was like, oh, well, that's convenient. He's like, but it's not practical for me to be walking around the ship with my computer. So I got to get a phone. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, well, can you just buy a cheap flip phone or something next time you're in port? Like, you're in port in Florida, where all the cruise ships, there's places that you can get stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't even need to repeat the stuff at this
now.
point.
Yeah.
You know how it goes. So it's so hard to do this, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I end up buying him a phone course,
Is this
it had to be
mostly out of guilt? Or like, what were you feeling at that time when you were like, did you feel like, oh, not again? Or were you like, okay?
No, I was like, not again. I'm stressed about money. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But what am I? This is such a stupid statement. What am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
I just was so in it.
Yeah.
And like, I believed him. And maybe there was a part of me that was so financially invested. Like, I didn't want to break things off because dude needs to start paying me money.
True. If you break it off, he's not going to pay you back, is your first fear. And then we've talked about this before, the sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk cost fallacy. Yep.
It's like you might know all about it. We were like learning about it. Okay. It's like, it is an economic theory. It's just like when you invest in something, you're more likely to stick with it, even when you know it's not best for you.
Whether it's emotionally or financially, even if it's just emotionally, you put so much of yourself into something. And then it's like, well, I can't give up now. I've already gone this far.
Like when you read a bad book and
but you still have to go to the end.
You're like, I gotta finish this, even though I hate it.
Yeah, I'm so close. Yeah. So no, I definitely was not happy. I was not excited about it. I didn't understand why he couldn't just get a used cheap phone. Like, why does it matter? And then, it was July. He wanted the newest Apple that comes out in September. I'm like, just wait. Anyway, so what ended up happening was it had to be an iPhone Pro Max. And it had to be blah, blah, blah. He told me exactly what he needed.
Got it.
Oh my gosh.
The only way to make that happen was for me to buy it on the US Apple site. So I'm paying for this already expensive phone in US dollars, making it even more expensive. Anyway, I do it and I have it shipped to the ship, just like the Amazon stuff, whatever. Happy as can be. So this is in July. One other thing I guess I really haven't shared was in the beginning of this relationship, I really kept it quiet because I was trying to convince myself. But by the time I went back the second time, my friends knew.
Sure.
A lot wanted to say something, but I didn't really give them the opportunity because I'm a grown-up. I'm not known for making stupid decisions. I'm not that one in the family that everybody's like, oh,
and
she
that
made a
can
bad
make you
decision
feel
again.
Embarrassed. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my brother knew, my dad knew, my friends knew. And I think a lot of people had opinions about it, but they just knew I wasn't asking for opinions. So they didn't know that I was sending all this money and stuff. But anyway, so that's mid-July. He gets the phone. Everything's fine because he's happy. He's got what he needs. At some point in August, things start to get a little bit weird and tense again. And he stops responding to me. And so I go down, I'm a bit of an investigator myself. And so I start going down the rabbit hole.
I like it.
Yeah. Of trying to find TikToks of people on the cruises
I love this.
he's working on, right? And as soon as you start on TikTok, all you see. So I was on Cruise Talk. I was on reviews of these
she
cruise.
Went nuts.
Sure.
It was in. But sure enough, the name of the first ship I searched, and there was a video, and it was of a belly flop competition. And I knew that was part of his job, but there was judging it.
He was judging the belly flop competition in the video?
So the video is of these guests showing the belly flop competition, but on the side, standing beside the lifeguard, is one of the workers.
On the ship he said he was not on.
Here's how I knew it was him, because it was at a distance.
Yeah.
He has very distinct hair.
That weird Pauly D hair.
Very distinct hair. And he also was wearing the Apple Watch with the very distinct band.
Oh, the Apple Watch you got for him.
Busted.
And also wearing the running shoes that I had bought him. So I tucked this little nugget up there. And then I'm in the rabbit hole. I'm trying to find more and more information. And then I get into YouTube, and there's a video of somebody reviewing this cruise. And it's like in the main, like I think it's the main promenade or whatever, like the main part of the ship when you first get on, and there's like stores and restaurants and stuff. And this guy is like, it's the camera's turned to him and he's talking. And I see this cruise worker sort of go behind and talk to the guy and then walks by. Like, that's him. That's my boyfriend.
That's that
Oh
quaff.
And he's tagged at
my
the ship.
God.
So when he started getting nasty to me and cranky, I said, you know what? Like, I know that you're not actually on the ship you're saying you are. I don't know why you're lying about it, but I have these 2 screenshots that are proof. And like, why would you lie to me? And he basically told me that I was a psycho. That
You're a
was just,
psycho because you're
yeah.
smart and found
Call
stuff
us
makes you a
psychos
psycho.
too, Ramon.
This has been my life for
Present.
20 years. As soon
Present.
as you know,
Exactly.
as soon as you find stuff out and people are like, oh, you're crazy. I can't believe you looked that up. Bitch, you're calling me a psycho because I'm basically smarter than you. Shut up.
There you go.
I'm a researcher. I research
Exactly.
things.
Thank you.
And that was a needle in a haystack, and I found 2 needles. But anyway, so he was obviously not very happy. And he tried to tell me, he's like, remember I told you that I have a twin, and the guests tell me all the time that there's somebody that looks just like me. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, I don't know that I can get over you lying to me about this. Like, what is it? Like, oh, I should also say, he was saying that I could come on the cruise, but then once he got on it, he's like, no, you can't actually come. So
What?
Wait,
he
so
didn't want me to
he's
come.
saying it's a doppelganger? Like somebody
Yeah,
that just
he has a
looks exactly
doppelganger on
like
another
him?
cruise ship.
He's like, guests tell me all the time that there's another guy that looks just like me on. I'm like,
And they're
okay,
both
whatever.
they're going on both of these cruises?
Of course. Yes, of course. So the obvious explanation is he told me the truth initially, then he panicked because I said I was going to come on the cruise. He didn't want me to come on the cruise. Okay. That's my rationalization of this. Not necessarily at the time, but looking back. So anyway, he didn't like to be caught in his lie. I say to him, I don't know that I can overlook this. So why would you lie about this? So then he stops texting me for 2 weeks. At the end of August, I was at a wedding and I was feeling kind of cute. So I changed my picture on my profile, like my WhatsApp, and he messaged me and he was commenting on how beautiful I looked and he started talking to me. And of course, that felt good. I wanted to talk to him. I missed him. I didn't want to give up everything that I thought we were working
Did you think you
towards.
were over in that 2-week period? That's a long time to get ghosted.
Kinda.
So you're feeling
Yeah, I was panicking.
awful. Sure.
And again, I'm like, I believed it. And I really put my life on hold for him to get through this cruise. And I did all these things and now just thrown away again. Like it was really impacting my self-esteem, my self-worth, all of the things, which if we bring it back to the very beginning is absolutely ridiculous because I was repulsed by him. But this is
You
what
are
happens
not alone, hon.
when people are charming and tell you what you don't even know you want to hear.
They trick you.
You start, yeah. So anyways, we're talking and we're getting back into the groove. And then we end up messaging back and forth for 6 hours that night. Near the end of the 6 hours, he wanted spicy stuff. It was back and forth. So it's like the equivalent of makeup sex, we'll say. And so I felt better. I felt like we can work through this. So then the next few days, everything is normal. Everything is fine. It was the end of August. So it's now September at this point. I'm like, okay, so it's a couple months. Your cruise contract's supposed to be up in December. What does that look like? Are you still coming to Canada immediately? Am I coming to see you? Like, I'm literally counting down every week. He's like, well, I can come to Canada, but I can only stay for maybe a month or so because I'm going to have to do another cruise contract. I'm like,
okay.
what? You said you were only ever going to do one. That's what we agreed on. And we're supposed to be having a baby. And like my clock had already talked. So it's only ticking louder.
Yeah.
Like this is already going to be hard, but okay. So he's like, yeah, I really don't want to, but my grandpa/dad needs a knee replacement surgery and I have to pay for it. So I have to do another cruise contract. And I'm like,
Oh,
well, that's hardly fair. And I'm like, well, what about all the money you've made so far? Like, he's like, yeah, I've had to send that to my family. I'm like, you know, you owe me money. He's like, I know, and I'm going to pay you. I'm like, well, this isn't really going how we had anticipated. Okay. So anyway, we just carry on. I'm not really trying to ruffle feathers too much. I'm like, we can figure things out. Fast forward to November, and things had been sort of challenging with us. He was less in contact. He was grumpy all the time. And I just figured he's tired. And so I had been out at an event one night and I won a bottle of wine. And so I like to drink, but I don't typically drink wine.
Mm-hmm.
That night, I thought it'd be a great idea to drink the whole bottle. When wine's not your drink of choice, you really feel free to share all of your inner thoughts. So I definitely initiated a big fight with him because I had been drinking. And I essentially said to him, what's going on? Is there somebody else? He's offended that I would even suggest that there was somebody else.
Sure.
I'm like, do you still love me? And he's like, well, no.
Oh.
I'm like, no. He's like, well, I can't tell you something that I don't feel. I'm like, well, what changed? He's like, I don't know. I'm just really stressed and tired. I don't know. All of this is just kind
Welcome
of a lot
to the
right
club,
now.
fella.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
real.
And I said, well, this is a big shock to me because I really feel like I've put my life on hold for you and done everything to support you.
Yeah.
And now you don't even know if you love me a month before your contract's supposed to be up. And so one might assume that probably didn't go well. The details are a little bit fuzzy for me, but I do know that I said a lot. I said all the things that I had been suppressing because I was hurting. I do have this toxic trait, especially if I'm drinking, that I delete messages. So I couldn't even really go back and reread them
Girl,
after.
same. I get brave.
Yeah, but then it's worse because you can't get them again.
Yeah.
Not on WhatsApp anyway.
Oh,
You're
no.
doing yourself a favor most of the time, though.
Yeah.
You don't feel like it then, but it's usually a favor you're doing yourself.
So I didn't know exactly what I said, but like I knew things weren't great. But we were still together. Like he just, like we didn't have some big breakup. It was just, we were together. Things were rocky, whatever. So then, I don't know, a few days later, a week later, it's still in November. He tells me he's not having a good day. We're still texting a lot. He's not having a good day. He just found out grandpa/dad died. Like, oh my God, that's so upsetting. He probably was late 70s, early 80s. Like, not a big surprise grandpa/dad might have died, but he was really upset. And as I said, my mom passed. So I'm like, we need to get you off this boat. You're almost finished. Like, what can I do to get you home? You need to be home with your family. He's like, nope, I don't want you to ask me any questions. I don't want to tell you any details about anything. I have to keep my game face on. I have to be happy for the guests. I have to put my feelings in a shelf and I'll deal with them when I get home. I can grieve them then. I was like, okay, well, I'm here to support you however you need. I understand what it's like because he was such an important part in his life. So anyway, a few days passes and he's having a rough day. You'll never believe what just happened to me. Like, tell me. He's like, I had my laptop in my bag and it fell out and it shattered into a million pieces.
I'm done. This podcast is over. I'm done. I can't with this guy. What? We're done. The episode's over.
He's 4. He's 4. He doesn't know how to like hold a
this
device.
toddler man.
I promise we're getting to like the extra pile really soon.
Oh God.
This is just the buildup. This is just the buildup. So anyway, I'm like, why would you throw your laptop out? But he's not thinking straight. Grandpa/dad's dead. He needs to be off the ship. Whatever. He doesn't want anything to do with me. He just wants to deal with his emotions in his own way. But he needed to vent to me that the laptop's broken.
Yeah, of course he had to let you know that part.
And
then the minute you ask any questions, he's like, I'm grieving.
Exactly. But I'm still thinking, well, dude, you still owe me the money. I'm sorry it's broken, but like, that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Anyway, then, I don't know, a week later, grandma dies.
Oh,
and
for the love of Pete,
bullshit.
I can't.
Bullshit. What? But sometimes you do hear of people dying of a broken heart.
But that happened to my grandparents, so I get it. It's possible. But this guy, I don't.
But this guy has a track record that's not 100% for him.
But you don't want to accuse somebody of it. But immediately, I'm like, bullshit. So I'm just trying to be supportive. We're not messaging much because you guys grieving, but I'm doing some research behind the scenes. I'm watching his mom's Facebook account. It's public. It's open. We're not friends or anything, but I can see. And so I'm just watching to see because it was her parents. Is there any kind of death notices? I'm Googling funeral homes. I'm trying to find an obituary, any of it. Don't see anything, but I'm just, maybe things are different there. Anyway, so it's now getting really close to the end of his contract. So it's early December now. And so I'm like, hey, I know everything's just happened with your family, but I'm just checking in. We've all been waiting for the end of your contract. Like, what's the plan? Am I going to see you? Are you coming here? And he's like, well, yeah, but I have to deal with all my stuff with my family. So I won't be able to see you for at least 6 weeks after my contract. And I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. I've been waiting for 7 months or longer because I had wanted to see him before he went. I'm like, that doesn't work for me. I'm getting pissed off. We're still together. We're still having this future, whatever.
Yes.
So I said to him, well, that doesn't work for me. As you know, I always travel in early January for my birthday. I'm going to book a trip.
Yeah, I'll come to your family.
Yeah, I'll come there. I'll do whatever I can do to support you.
You were willing to come to him, like in every sense of the word, like
everything. I
geez.
made it too easy.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, that's not going to work. The earliest date is this. And I said, well, I'm going to book my trip. If something should change, then something changes. So the next day I booked my trip. I had this real internal dilemma. It's like, okay, do I book the trip to his country and tell him where I'm going to be, not in his city, but like where I'm going to be, and give him the opportunity to come see me? If he doesn't come see me, then obviously it's over. Or do I just say, this is crazy, I've wasted a whole year, and go somewhere else? I have a very long bucket list of places that I want to go, right? So I went back and forth and I decided I need to give him the opportunity.
And we want to see what he'll choose.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I book a trip and I knew of a place that I had never been to, but it's his favorite place in his country. So I'm like, I'm going to book there. So the next day I send him a text. I'm like, I booked a trip. Here it is. Here's where I'm staying. I'm going for 8 days. And immediately he's pissed off. He's like, why would you pick there? I'm not traveling that far.
For the love.
I'm not doing it. If you'd picked this other place, it's closer. I could have driven, but whatever.
He said he wasn't coming either way. So,
well, exactly. But he turned it around to make it about him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, again, we've all recognized I have this people pleasing side of me.
We all do it.
So I managed to modify my trip. And for the first 4 days, I am going to go to that place. And then the second half, I'm going to go to the place that he suggested that he could drive to. So I say, okay, I've made my change. This is what I'm going to do. If you can make it for the second half, I would love to see you. Yes, I'm sure I can make it for the second half. I'm like, great. So I changed my accommodations. I was staying in a beautiful condo when it was going to be for 8 days. I modified everything. I stayed in a cheaper, not so nice hotel the first half, and then I made the second half to be nicer because we'd be together. Great. He knows everything. So it's now like Christmas and New Year's, and I don't hear much from him. The odd text here or there, zero FaceTiming. I tried. He just declined my calls, but I'm like, he's grieving. No posts about grandma or grandpa or anything. But I'm super sensitive because my mom died 3 days before Christmas. So it's already like a sad time for me. And my dad was visiting me. So I just let it go, right? Like it's not that big of a deal. The day before I was supposed to be where he knew I was traveling, I checked Facebook and I noticed that his mom had tagged herself traveling to where I was going. I was like, that's weird. Maybe he's trying to surprise me and I'm going to get to meet the mom, the stepdad, the sister. They're all traveling here, right? And I'm like, maybe he was just trying to do something nice. He has all my itinerary. So the night before I'm set to be where I'm traveling, he texts me, he's checking in how I'm doing. I'm like, I'm doing okay. How are you? And he's like, well, I'm okay, but my mom just got into a car accident and she's in the hospital.
Bless it. Oh.
And I'm like, oh, really? Where did it happen? In your home city? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh. So again, I'm thinking he's surprising me. He doesn't know I know. I'm not going to say anything. I recognize right now I sound completely stupid, naive, hopeful, whatever.
Hopeful.
But hoping for the best. So I don't let him know that I know. And go take care of your mom in the hospital. I hope she's doing okay. It's not too serious, right? Anyway, so then that day I fly, and I fly to the home country, to where I was meeting him, that he couldn't go to, that mom is now in. When I land, I'm kind of expecting that they're going to meet me at the airport. So I'm like looking through the crowds of people, and I don't see them. So I'm like, that's okay. It would be hard to find somebody at the airport. So I get into my shuttle to my hotel.
Still hopeful.
Super hopeful. And for whatever reason, I decided to, this, brace yourself, ladies. I decided to check his Facebook account.
Oh no!
We're not friends on Facebook. We're just friends on Instagram. But I see that he is tagged in a post on Facebook congratulating him on his wedding.
What? Holy crap.
I didn't see that.
Holy guacamole. Dude, I'm telling you, it's social media every time. So, oh my God.
This whole time, I knew something was going to happen, but I didn't think this. I at no point, I mean, I thought maybe he had another relationship on this cruise ship, whatever. Him being literally at his wedding it was not on my bingo card, Mackenzie.
No. Well, and because that's such an extreme, right? Like very rarely are that, like, you mean to tell me you're at your wedding, you've been with this girl almost a year, and now she wasn't even invited? How rude. Like, that's so terrible, and how heartbreaking that must have been for her. So I just, after the next half is a freaking roller coaster doozy. So whenever you listen next week, you're just going to be like, okay, and then we'll do the dogfish debrief after that one. But oh my god,
we'll go into detail about everything we can learn from this next episode.
But I'd love to hear your thoughts so far. Keep the conversation going on Patreon. It's $5 a month if you want to join us on Patreon. The link is in the show notes, or you can keep the conversation going on social media, which, by the way, we really appreciate when you guys share the Dating Detectives on your social media, because I just think that's really rad. And the more that you guys share, the more awareness we bring to these types of situations, this dogfish situation. And I would like to point out that this morning I have Google Alerts set up, and
I saw this.
Yeah, on newsbreak.com, we were featured in an article there. So I'll be sharing that on our social. So that's really cool, I think. Just talking about dog fishing and what it is.
The other thing is just, we can have all these conversations. Laura is a listener. Like, Laura's in the comments too. So just be respectful and understanding. And I love how she talks about where she was in that moment. Like, she got into kind of her breakup beforehand, and she's so independent. She's such a baddie. Like, the fact that it's unsafe to travel alone sucks. Like, I just love that she takes life by the horns.
I love the idea of the solocation, but
I hate Ramon is the problem.
Yeah. And also I know that we talked about this at the top of the show in the intro, but if you have thoughts that have anything to do with how could she get herself into this, you guys think about something stupid that you've done and be like, how could I get myself? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you think that people experience these situations don't feel dumb enough? Like, they already feel dumb, but it's not dumb. Like, being a victim, no part of that makes you. It's like saying, I can't believe, like, well, she brought it on herself. She was wearing a short skirt or whatever. Like,
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's not cool. So let's keep that to a minimum. But there are several times I was like, oh, girl, why did you do that? Like, it's right. It's like, oh man, you have natural thoughts and that's fine, but just try to show some kindness.
Yeah, we're not bringing this up specifically because of Laura. It's just been like a bigger theme in the last couple of episodes where people are bringing those conversations to the table, which, like we said, it's not that you can't have those conversations as long as you do it being open to the fact that you don't know what it's like. You don't know their entire story, and they are not at fault no matter what they did.
Right. And the entire point of this, and what's important to me and Hannah and Molly, is the ethical part. So yeah, we're in the true crime category, but we're ethically telling these stories in a way that, and by that, I mean, these people are telling their stories from their own point of view. So right, wrong, or indifferent, this is their perception. Your perception is your reality, right? So this is their story, their perception. So anyways, but we do want to hear your thoughts. And if you do disagree, that's fine too. Like you can disagree, but I think you can do it kindly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
be sweet.
Anyways, it's just my 2 cents.
So that's that. Oh, one more thing. If you're in LA, I'm doing a self-defense workshop. I posted about it, but y'all should come take this
that's so
class.
cool.
It's going to be fun. And I got some brands to sponsor it. Let me show you this. I'm going to show you, Mackenzie.
That would be amazing.
So this is, I'm going to tell you. So we got Overdrive drink testing strips. I got, self-defense keychains from Self-Defense Keychain Store. And then this is called Go Guarded. And basically it's like a carrier for your pepper spray. And it has a little, knife thing if you needed it for when you're running by yourself.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Just
have some kind of protection. And it's light, nothing heavy.
Exactly. Right. And this was just like a woman who was a runner. And I don't know.
So anyways, keep sending in your stories. And on the subject line, make sure you put give me 5 or 7 words detail. Don't just say dogfish, because then we have 7,500 dogfish stories. So give me a summary. But anyways, email us, investigate@thedatingdetectivespodcast.com. Send your stories. We love hearing from you. And Next week is going to be a doozy, so make sure you tune in and make sure you're reviewing and giving us the 5 stars too, please. We love that. And as always, trust your femtuition.